Welcome to Inside Auto Podcast, where we feature everyone and anyone you'd want to talk to in and out of the automotive industry.
Ilana Shabtai here, host of Inside Auto Podcast, where we interview top dealers, GMs, marketers, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders in and out of the automotive industry. And before we introduce today's guest, this episode is sponsored by FullPath.com. FullPath is automotive industry's leading customer data and experience platform, CDXP. FullPath enables dealers to turn their first-party data into lifelong customers by unifying siloed data sources and leveraging that data to create exceptional, hyper-personalized customer experiences. To learn more, visit FullPath.com. Today, we're welcoming Rich McNulty, CEO of Blue Whale EV, to the podcast. Rich, how are you?
Very good. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for joining. I'll give you a quick intro and then we'll get into some of your background and what you're doing for the industry, which is, one of the best topics here on Inside Auto Podcast. We bring on all different people, how they're transforming automotive, and it's always very interesting. So I'm excited to get to know you and Blue Whale EV. But Rich is here, again, CEO of Blue Whale EV, an advisory and service organization to the EV charging community. He and his company help commercial and government clients through the entire EV charging adoption journey, from education to sales, installation, and maintenance. Rich comes to the EV charging industry after more than 30 years in the electrical contracting industry. So really excited to hear a little bit about that change and things that you can apply from that industry to automotive. And I am a proud new owner of an EV. So lots of actual questions for you. So let's chat. Talk to us a little bit about that switch from the electrical contracting industry to automotive industry and how that's been for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It started about 7 or 8 years ago for us as electrical contractors. We're servicing a lot of multifamily, commercial units, government, in the automotive industry. And we just started getting so many calls. It was really amazing year over year how the change was occurring, where people were moving towards EV. So we saw it as a tremendous opportunity, and really in the last 2 or 3 years, it's exploded. It's really about catching up and keeping up now to keep our customers satisfied.
And so tell me a little bit about what Blue Whale EV, like what you're actually installing, how you're installing it, what are some of the challenges that you're seeing. Again, as an EV owner now, I'm extra interested in this because, I'm always thinking, oh my gosh, what if I get stuck? How am I going to actually charge my car? But it's literally the same thing as gas. It's just a switch in the mindset in terms of how you actually look at like the battery go down. But I'd love to know how you're tackling that and how Blue Whale is kind of like educating around that.
Yeah, it's I guess related to a trip on the highway, on a long trip, and you've kind of forgotten about your gas gauge for a while, right? And you need to locate that gas station. It's the same thing in the EV world, right? Effectively it's customers and clients need to be able to find reliable charging stations, right? We have to build more of them. We have to create more opportunity to have these installed, throughout the country, but definitely in and around the place where you work and you live. So you're never caught without that charge. That happens more than you can imagine.
Yeah, don't say that. I'm a little apprehensive already. But are there do you think that they are going to be as frequent and as prominent as gas stations are today? Do you think it will literally just be copy paste, or will there be a different sort of methodology?
Yeah, it's really going to be a combined effort, right? So yes, I think you're going to find some sort of mirroring effect with gas stations, that you're going to have the opportunity for gas station owners to be able to also get into the EV space. Met with a couple recently. You notice Shell Oil just got into the industry, so they're going to be. They own their own EV company, and they'll be deploying them around the country. But the difference between gas stations and the EV is that it's also going to be at everyone's home. It's going to be at the places that they work. It's going to be at the places they go to frequent for stores. There's going to be a lot more opportunity for folks to be able to get a charge than just gas stations, which is critically important to the adoption of the devices and really, cutting down on, um, the energy, loss that's happening out there.
Yeah, I'm excited for this change. And do you have a prediction for um, like the mass adoption that you think will happen with EVs, at least in North America, and what that might look like?
Well, they, utilizing, I would say the studies that were in the UK, they suggest that 5% is the tipping point. Once we hit 5% adoption in certain areas, it tends to increase much more rapidly. So, what we see in the US is, major cities really jumping on board. There's so many more people. As people move towards EV, they're going to need substantially more stations.
Yeah.
So, we're anticipating somewhere between 10 and 20% over the next 2 to 3 years is what we really see in terms of adoption in the US.
And then just because most of our community are, at least the Inside Auto podcast community is dealerships, do you have any plan or insight into what dealers might install or have to support the transition to EV?
Absolutely. We're very involved in that market. I would say it's top 1 and 2 for us currently, is auto and fleet. And the whole idea is, as the manufacturers in the auto industry build more vehicles, every single one of the dealerships that are going to be selling EV are going to need EV chargers at their facility. Obviously, when they're servicing vehicles, they're going to need to recharge those vehicles. When customers that drive EV today want to, come into the store to shop, they're going to appreciate having EV chargers there where they can get a charge while they're shopping around. It's just the way things are going to be moving forward.
Yeah. Also to support, of course, test drive and other things, they would need to be able to charge those vehicles. And do you know anything about? I know that Blue Whale really focuses on the actual implementation of the EV charging stations, but do you know or have any insight into what service is going to look like on the EV side? I know, what I've read at least seems like there will be less service needed, but the service will actually be more expensive. Do you have any overlap in that area that you can share with us?
Well, just from personal experience, I would suggest, and then, talking with and working with the dealers, it's just, I've owned an EV for a few years now, had multiple vehicles, and there's just so much less maintenance, right? Things that you need to do, the oil change, anything to do with your transmission. It's a lot more seamless, right? I think there are going to be some changes in the industry as time progresses, where technology is going to improve the EV car, right? So I think the big thing that's out there that's causing people some angst is the batteries, right? The life of the battery, how to recharge that battery so it lasts longer. But you're talking 7 to 10 years or longer. And if you take care of the battery right, if you charge it properly, only charge to 80% is the general rule today. Your battery. I'm sorry?
Is that true? I didn't know that.
Yeah, you don't want to recharge to 100%. It actually wears your battery down to continually recharge it to 100%. Don't ask me why. But to get it, you want to recharge to 80% and continually recharge as often as you can at 80%. There's actually settings in your vehicle where you can set it to charge only to 80% or 90% or whatever it is. And when you're charging at home, or if you're going to be charging at your office, and then if you're at your office, you just move your vehicle at that point and let somebody else in there until, we're at 50% adoption and you've got many more chargers available at a workspace.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. I didn't know that. And then is it charge until 80% and then let it basically go down? Or does it not matter? Like you might be at 50, but you can charge back to 80. Are there any sort of rules around that?
Yeah, generally, you're gonna try, if you've got a charger at home, which is obviously a good idea. You're basically going to recharge when you get home. For a lot of the instances on regular days, you're going to charge to 80% in the evening. You're going to go run about, do your day's business, for whatever 8 or 10 or 12 hours. Come home and recharge to that level. And in the event, for folks that are, doing a lot of traveling during the day for their job, they're gonna recharge more frequently at their office or on the road. Hence the need for more EV chargers.
Yeah. Any other tricks, by the way, on charging that you could share with us? Didn't know that one.
Oh, let me see. Yeah, I guess on the other side, you really don't want to risk getting too low in your charging.
Yeah.
Bad things happen when you get down into that 5% range. You
Yeah.
start sweating and, you start to panic. You're going online to find the nearest charger, which is,
Yeah.
a valuable tool. Looking for that supercharger where you can charge quickly, right? And that's a big thing is, folks, everything is, they want it right now in today's society. And there's a huge difference between level 2 and level 3 chargers, right? Level 2 is going to take you 6 to 8 hours to get a charge. You really don't have that much time during your day unless you're at work, right?
Right.
So you need to find a supercharger, something that's going to charge your car to 80% in 15 minutes, right?
And does that ruin the battery life though?
Repeated use over and over, yes. So what they're suggesting is, you use it when you need to. So we're going to charge at home. We're going to charge at our work. But when you've got to, travel and charge more for your job, or if you're going on a longer trip, then yeah, that's when you're going to use DC3.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point that you brought up, because that's going to be, not only is there just a general shift in mentality that needs to be taken with the transition to EV, but there's actually this, we're so used to just filling up gas, right? It takes 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 8 minutes, whatever. But if you want a proper charge and you don't want to overuse this quick charge, we're not going to get things right away. And in today's society, that's like a foreign concept again. So I actually think, there needs to be a bit more education and like switch of mindset around that to just prepare society for that. And by the way, I think it's a good thing, right? I think patience is really important. I try to teach it to my kids. It's not successful, but I think it is a huge virtue. So it could be great to bring it back into our lives.
Yeah, no doubt. And it really becomes more about planning, right?
Right.
Strategic planning about how you're going to charge, and you get into a rhythm. I think the longer you own EV and you get over your initial fears of the first whatever, prior to buying the car and then just shortly after, it's all about planning, and you can kind of have a stress-free life. Are you enjoying your EV vehicle now? I should ask you that.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's like it's the best car I've ever had.
Yeah.
It's also just, it's really nice to be able to just drive anywhere and be able to not worry about like a gas bill. To be honest, gas is really expensive. Here in Israel, gas is extremely expensive here, probably 3 times the amount as in the States. It's a huge, huge, huge save, meaning the actual EV is a little bit more expensive, but in the end, you save a lot more money. And also, obviously environmental, et cetera. But it's a really, I'm really enjoying it.
Fantastic. Have you started to think about solar in addition to your EV vehicle and EV charger at home?
Yeah, that would be, it's pretty big here in Israel, and that would be awesome. Actually, in Israel, if you install solar in your home, you get a huge, I'm sure there's something similar in the US, but you get a lot of tax breaks and other benefits, and you're saving money. So it's so worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what's going to be one of the emerging trends, right? It only makes sense that, one, if you install EV or solar at your home, right, you can start to defray your energy cost and, basically take some pressure off the grid.
Yeah.
And we talk to our commercial clients, in the same regard. And if they have either the space around their facility, whatever it happens to be, or they're looking at building new buildings, they should look to include solar. And the reason, not only just to power their own whole building, which isn't realistic, right? It's basically to take pressure off, but
Right.
it can be used to support the EV charging effort, right? So it's not so much pressure on the grid and save a bunch of money.
Yeah, that's actually, that's really nice way to just like offset it a bit. Do you find it's interesting? Are there correlations between EV owners and installing solar in homes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's tied to, green mentality, folks wanting to do the right thing in terms of the green initiative. But it's also, it's a financial aspect, right? You're saving money. There's certainly all sorts of governmental programs that can assist really to help take the strain off the grid. So solar is a big piece of that, but it directly ties into the future of EV. Certainly from a fleet perspective, you're going to see a lot of larger companies moving towards some sort of solar application to support their EV initiative, more on a one-to-one basis, right? So if we figure out what they need in terms of EV, then we can design a system in terms of solar that'll support that direct EV need.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. And then before we sign off here, and this has been an awesome conversation, very eye-opening for me especially, what's next? Can you share a little bit what's next for Blue Whale EV, what you're working on, just something to get us all excited about this next transition for us?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things we're working on is bringing more electrical companies on board into the fold to increase the network of installers that are out there, basically to help install EV across the country. We also need more installers, right? Installers are at a premium. Traditionally, electrical or solar installers are installing this type of product, and we need to do more education, right? We need to get folks trained up and certified in this so that as it continues to expand across the country, we've got a labor force that's going to be able to respond to, the really crushing need that's out there for technical employees. So that's a thing. The other is we're really tackling, the automotive industry needs. The manufacturers, the EV manufacturers are driving this. Every EV manufacturer out there is going to more than likely have a vehicle that is going to be an EV related product, and they're going to need support from chargers. So that's really our main focus, in addition to government applications and the general commercial entity that's out there that wants to support its employees.
That's cool. So you're going to be working just in automotive specifically. You'll probably work through the OEM and trickle down to the dealerships, or you'll do both direct to dealer and OEM?
We do a lot of direct to dealer, is really primarily how we're going at it. We have partners that are facilitating us meeting more dealerships. We work with Stellantis, Ford, Lincoln, Mitsubishi, a number of the large guys that are out there, and we're installing them every day, all throughout the East Coast.
That's awesome. Well, you're doing great work. Thanks for sharing it with us here on Inside Auto Podcast. Thank you so much for joining. And if you like this episode, tune in InsideAutoPodcast.com. You can find us on all your favorite streaming channels: Spotify, Apple, Deezer, InsideAutoPodcast.com. Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Inside Auto Podcast. Check out our other episodes with top entrepreneurs and industry leaders.